What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Professor Ant-Man. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, guys, I'm here to bring you all my review of Bungou Stray Dogs episode 6. Let's get this started. So with this week's episode of Bungou Stray Dogs, we dive into an episode that wasn't from the manga. However, even though it wasn't from the manga, this was in fact a canon episode because Bungou Stray Dogs also has a light novel series, and the light novel series focuses on several other characters within the series and gives them, more backstory, more characterization, and that is pretty much what we got out of this week's episode of Bungou Stray Dogs when it comes to Kunikida. I mean, pretty much in the beginning of this episode, we open up with Kunikida exclaiming as to, what his ideal is, and pretty much he contains all of his thoughts, ideals, dreams, his goals, and even his ideal woman in a little notebook that basically explains everything about him. And I really do think that that little quote that we got in the beginning of this episode of Bungou Stray Dogs, and also pretty much Kunikida's characterization throughout the entirety of this episode, was well adapted from the light novel. And, I like how they're actually trying to, develop the world of Bungou Stray Dogs when it comes to this series, because it reminds me something about like Noragami, for example, because it seems like the first season is going to pretty much develop the world and the characters that reside in this series, and then in the second season is pretty much going to end up, getting a lot more heated, and I can really expect a second season of Bungou Stray Dogs. I really can, because I'm personally really enjoying it. But what I'm trying to get at here is that the series reminds me of Noragami in terms of the way of how it's setting up the characters, because it's even taking elements from the light novel series to implement them into the episodes before they actually, flourish out the story more to the more darker parts of the series. So pretty much the entirety of this episode, we have Kunikida, Atsushi, and Osamu Dazai go about and try to track down a specific individual who has been framing the armed detective agency for various abductions, and this specific individual is going by the name as the Azure Messenger. We don't really know who it is at this point, but we see throughout this episode, through several informants that our characters meet, that we could possibly be leading onto some clues as to who the Azure Messenger can be. And, when an episode brings about a certain character that you only see briefly of, that to me is, basically saying, hey, I might possibly be the guy you're looking for. So, in my personal opinion, I think the guy's name was Rakugo. I could be wrong, but he's like the computer hacker sort of guy that our characters ended up meeting before the taxi driver guy. Yeah, hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. Basically, this character, he seems to be the most likely person to be the Azure Messenger. I just think, he seems very suspicious to me. I don't really know if he could be. I mean, I could be wrong, but yeah, we see various clues throughout the entirety of this episode on who exactly the Azure Messenger can be, and these abductions that have been going about have been framed from the armed detective agency. And we see in this episode that one of the people that was abducted within this episode was Sasaki Nobuko. Now, Sasaki Nobuko, if anybody doesn't know, I did some research as to who this possible person could be, and it turns to find out that it's actually the ex-wife of Kunikida Dopo. Now, this is very interesting because I'm wondering if this will develop a relationship for Kunikida in later down the line, because throughout the, several parts throughout this episode, we have Kunikida and Osamu Dazai basically discussing as to who his ideal woman could be, and this would be very interesting to see Kunikida develop a relationship with Sasaki Nobuko, having these two fictional characters who are based off of real historical figures of Japanese literature, or just, Japanese culture in general. It would be very interesting to have them put together, because in their real life counterparts, they have been put together as well. So I think that would be pretty interesting if we see Sasaki Nobuko and Kunikida Dopo become a thing, because it was brought about in this episode of, Kunikida's ideal woman on who she could be. be. And it seems like it's leaning on to that, but then we have the whole fact that Osamu Dazai is cock-blocking Kunikida the whole time. I thought that was pretty funny. Osamu Dazai basically playing the role as a womanizer throughout this episode. Throughout several episodes of Bungou Stray Dogs that we have seen, Osamu Dazai is the type of individual who wants to form a double suicide pact with every woman he meets, but I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know how prevalent Sasaki Nobuko is actually going to be prevalent throughout the entirety of the Bungou Stray Dogs series, but if she is going to be prevalent, I wonder if later down the line we could possibly see a relationship form with Sasaki Nobuko and Kunikida Doppo. Oh, and of course we gotta talk about that battle with Kunikida and Ryunosuke Kutsugawa. That battle was pretty short. I mean, it was good, but it was short. We have it to where Ryunosuke eventually ends up fleeing the scene directly after. In these past few episodes, when it comes to the fights, nothing really much has happened with, the fights. But as I stated before, I see Bungou Stray Dogs, the season 1 at least, just building up more of the suspense, more of the characters, and understanding the world in general more, and probably by episode 12 or 11, that's when things will start to get a little, more heated, and this could possibly lead to a season 2, which we might get, we might not, but, we'll just have to wait and see later down the line. But, as I said before, Bungou Stray Dogs, the way how it's being directed reminds me something out of, Noragami. It's going to build up the world in season 1, and then in season 2 is when things will start to pretty much build up entirely and get really, really heated. But that is just my speculation as to the future of this series. But yeah, so far I am really liking Bungou Stray Dogs, and we are already halfway into it, and I'm just enjoying myself. Oh yeah, and also we have that comedy aspect where we see Osamu Dazai open up in this episode to him pretty much, hallucinating and, being all wacky due to the fact that he ended up eating poisonous mushrooms. That was very funny. Yet again, we have Osamu Dazai trying to kill himself. So I thought that little portion of this episode was very funny. And I'm liking how they are handling the comedy aspect, but when they need to be serious in Bungou Stray Dogs, they are keeping it serious. But hopefully stuff gets more darker as the series progresses. So yeah, that about does it for my review of this episode of Bungou Stray Dogs. Let me know in the comments down below on what you thought about this episode, and don't forget to like this video if you did, and if you want to stick up to date to my future content on this channel, please hit that red subscribe button below and you will never miss a video from me. That about does it for this video, guys. Love you all, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.